Okay. All right. I think we're set. Okay, should we get started? All righty. Here we go. Okay, so let's see, what time is it? 7:03. Let's go ahead and call the Mary Lynn Go Team meeting to order. I'm going to read the script because this is my first time doing this. I'd like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present who are here to quietly observe. For members of the Go Team, please identify yourself when you speak. Pleased to call this meeting to order at 7:03. Our first order of business is a roll call. Paul, do you have the list there? Can you call off the names? And just say present if you're here.
Sorry, I couldn't figure out mute.
If not, I have this too. I can share my screen.
Sorry, I didn't have the names pulled
That's
up.
okay. I'll just go ahead and do it then. Because I have the minutes right here. We'll just go through that.
Oh, I do have it here.
Are you okay? Go ahead. It's okay.
Yeah. So Sharon Briscoe.
Present.
Allison Thompson.
Present.
Katrina Fuller.
Present.
Molly Campbell.
Present.
Okay. Monica Waldman.
Present.
And we'll go with Ann Weidert.
Present.
And Katie Zabrowski.
Present.
That looks like we have everybody present.
Excellent.
You forgot Ashley Hanshaw. We voted her in last week as the second staff member because somebody.
Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
Yep.
Thank you. Present.
Excellent. And you nailed all the names too. That was perfect.
I'm sorry, Principal Briscoe, did you say you have a new staff member on your team?
No, remember last month we voted her in. We had a person that didn't.
Okay, that's fine. I just thought you said that we voted her in last week, and I was like,
I meant last month.
That's fine. That's what I thought. I'm like, y'all didn't meet last week. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have a quorum, so we can go ahead to our action items. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda, and that was sent to you guys by Paul. Let me pull that up for everyone, and we'll keep that up also throughout the meeting. And just give me a thumbs up if you can see it. No, that's minutes. Want to see the agenda?
Yep, that's the agenda.
Okay. Okay.
I just want to note on the agenda that it says 6:15. There was some questions that I know last year we met at 6:15, but this time we agreed that we were going to do 7 o'clock. So I think some people were a little bit confused about the start time.
Yeah, we'll make sure that's correct going forward. Okay, is there anyone want to make a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. And if you could say your name too.
Katie Zabrowski.
Okay, perfect. All right. Is there a second?
Second, Allison Thompson.
All right. And then we'll just go ahead and vote. You can all in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Okay, so we have the agenda approved. All right, moving right along then. We're going to do the approval of the previous minutes. I sent those to you today. I'm sorry, they were posted on the website, but just failed to email them out to you. So let me go here. And this will become more seamless the more we do it, guys. So just hang on. There we go. Those are the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Molly Campbell, motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Monica Waldman, second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Okay, so that passes. And then we're going to go to our next agenda item, which will be filling the open community spot. All right, there we go.
Okay, so I'm really excited to announce that we had 4 people initially share their bios and express interest in the community seat, which is a rarity. And then since then, I've gotten 3 more, but they were so late. It was this past week, like literally Monday and Tuesday. And so I responded and recommended that they move forward with trying to get on the board for next year because of the open enrollment, the process in the spring with the voting. So I did receive some feedback. I shared with the Go team all of the bios, and they were all excellent. There would not have been a candidate that was that we wouldn't want to serve with us. However, I did receive more. Every person that responded did make a recommendation or did express their support for Elizabeth Broderick. And so as a result, I would like to move forward with making that the nomination to appoint her as the last member of the community seat. Now, Diane, I'm not sure. I know that the principal makes the recommendation. Not sure if the Go team does vote on that or is okay.
Yeah,
All right.
the principal makes the nomination. The Go team can then vote to accept or reject said
Okay.
nomination.
All right. So I would like to go ahead and formally make the nomination of Elizabeth Broderick to fill the community seat. I also want to just express again that there were no poor candidates. Everybody really would have been a great addition, and I want to encourage people to to get involved and maybe try to throw their names in the hat a little bit earlier, or throw their hats in the ring a little bit earlier for next time. So with that being said, I guess Katrina would have to move forward with the voting process based on the nomination.
Okay, is there a motion? Anyone want to move to vote on that?
Allison
I think-
Thompson, so moved.
Okay, a second?
Katie Zabrowski, second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. All right, and that passes. Perfect.
And I'll be sure to reach out to the people who did express interest that did not get selected, just to let them know, it was nothing wrong with them. It's just, it's only 1 seat, 4 candidates. So
It's 8 or 9 people. That's impressive. Right?
I know it was 7. It was 7 people.
So
4, yeah. So
that's great.
that's good.
Just let you know, Principal Briscoe, that sometimes some other principals in your cluster have difficulty finding community members. So, you can always share the bounty. So
Okay. Will do. Good to know.
Oh, that is interesting. All right, so let me once again just share that, and we'll move right along to next on the agenda. Okay, everyone can see that. Next on the agenda, we have public comment. I don't think there's anyone. Let me scroll down just to make sure.
I
there's
think
any
I
members.
did see 1 member of the public, Sarah.
Oh, Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Oh, I'm just here to listen.
Okay.
okay.
No public comment.
No public comment, no.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on from there. We're going to go to our discussion items. First on the agenda, map results.
Okay, so, this is really interesting. I see principals report, map results, impact of new K-5, and continuous improvement plan, and they're all kind of wrapped up together in one. And so the first thing, if you would, Katrina, pull up the PowerPoint.
Okay.
And the one I edited, or I just updated to share some slides. Okay. All right, and we can go to the next slide.
Okay, can everyone see it okay?
If you go to,
Can we play it?
yeah. Mhm.
There we go.
Okay. All right. So just so that you all are aware of what's happening, the school leaders have been asked to complete a continuous improvement plan. They call it a SIP. And for the current school year, and we did ours and submitted it. And then earlier in the year, I met with Mr. Brown, my associate superintendent, and some other leaders in the district to review it. And so if you go to the next slide, it's kind of just our guideline. Okay. This is the, yeah, you can keep going. That's just the Go Team timeline. You can go to the next slide. Okay. All right. So this is right here is our actual current strategic plan that we all together created as a Go Team. And it is a 4-year plan. It runs through 2025. And it talks about, there's some big buckets about the strategic priorities and initiatives, the things that we're going to be focusing on. You can see that excellence in academics is the main, is the first bucket. Then we're talking about student support in terms of what we do for students who are struggling, or for students who are excelling and just need some personalized instruction. What we do staff-wise to empower our teachers, and then how do we engage the community? So that is something that the Go Team created. So we're just sharing that. And then if you could go on to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about our continuous improvement plan for this year. All right. So what we did is we talked about what are our strengths and our challenges. And a lot of our strengths lie in academics. As you can see, and I don't know if that can be zoomed in on or not, or if you all need it to be zoomed in on, but we did do really, really well academically this year. So with our strengths, we're looking at proficiency and above versus passing. So there's 4 levels, and this is based on milestones data. Which is the end of the year data that is for the students in the grades 3 through 5, school district wide. So 83.7% of our students scored proficient or above in ELA, and 85 proficient or above in math. What that means is that there's a small portion of the population that it's not that they did not pass the test, but our aim is proficiency. So we're well into the 90th percentile in students who are passing, but we want to make sure that everybody is proficient. We did have an increase in achievement from the 2019 milestones. And that was a rarity. I believe there were 6 to 8 schools in the district that did accomplish that task, and we were one of them. So we're really proud of that data that we showed an increase, even though we were, going through COVID time. Students had, there was some attendance challenges, and we were doing a lot of online learning, but it looks like our teachers really did a great job keeping our students engaged during online learning, and it showed in our scores. And then for our challenges, we have talked about this before. We want to discuss the achievement gap for African American students and students with disabilities at Mary Lynn compared to white students at Mary Lynn. When we look at our achievement gap compared to the cluster, our African American students and our students with disabilities are outperforming the district significantly. So when we talk about closing the achievement gap, we're talking about within the school. Okay, does anybody have any questions about that? Because it's a little bit, I just want to be clear that what you hear me saying is that while there is an achievement gap at our school, the Black students at Mary Lynn and the students with disabilities at Mary Lynn are outperforming Black students across the district and also students with disabilities. So we move on to our literacy problem statements, and we really had to spend some time to think about what it is that we want to work on. That's a great problem to have when you're scoring really well and your students are achieving and growing. You have to be a little bit more intentional about what it is that you want to focus on. So our focus for our SIP is about writing. So in our writing domain scores, we tend to score lower on writing than we do on reading as a part of the ELA overarching subject on milestones. And so we intend to focus on that. And for math, what we want to do is make sure that we're able to continue the momentum of how we're doing, and as well as taking a look at the actual domains. So I believe it was geometry, which is kind of a surprise, because you kind of think that might be one of the easier domains, but I do believe that part of that is timing. So it's about how we follow the scope and sequence, the curriculum map. And then finally, we're going to really focus on a team approach for providing care, personalized care and attention for students who are having difficulties or lacking motivation. And one of the things that we've been doing that's already different is that we have established a care team per the district, and we meet weekly as a team led by our social worker, and then our counselor, our student support team person, myself, Ms. Benton, and we talk about the particular students that we have that are exhibiting issues and what we can do to support those students that is that is different or more than what our general population gets. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so these are our SMART goals, and what we have to do is, based on the data and based on what we said that we wanted to work on, we have created some goals. And you can see, again, we're going to increase the number of students who score a 3 or more on the writing for milestones, because again, even though our students are achieving well, that writing is what we're scoring the lowest in. Same thing for the geometry domain. And then I just shared this about the care team and the attendance committee that we have. Next slide. All right, and these are just our action plans for how we are going to achieve these goals. And it just literally lists who on the team is going to be doing what and the funding source and the timeline. So the next 3 slides show that. And those are things that are certainly, public knowledge, but it's not something that anybody outside of the school is responsible for. So that's for the next 3 slides. So this is for our first goal. you go to the next. Our second goal, and this is the one about the whole child system, and then our third goal about technology integration and personalizing learning for students. And you'll see that a lot during our Rocket Power Hour, which is the intervention block that has been built into our schedule. Okay, and that actually just started this month. I had to give the students a little bit of time so we could collect some data, and we do have very few students that require enrichment. However, that require intervention, but rather we use that time to provide enrichment. And there's a lot of strategies that we've started using for that, including one that I'm really excited about, which is junior great books. And that is something that our GATE teachers are spearheading to support students who are both in and not in GATE to improve their comprehension skills. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. All right, so this is our map between the milestone scores and the map data. Map data is something that is used as a screener to determine where students are. And then we take that 3 times a year. So we took it first in just recently. I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago where we took this, and every parent should have received their individual report on this. So this is a very high level view. Right now, this is all of the, what I did is I filtered out to just show the Midtown cluster and North Atlanta cluster schools, because those are our sister schools, and then also the schools that are most similar in makeup to Mary Lynn. And as you can see from the beginning of the year, the top bar is where the district is performing, and then there we are by school. So Mary Lynn is currently ranked #1, but this is for all students and all tests. So this is math and reading, math and ELA combined, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade combined. And so what you can see is that we have 5% of our students who are not meeting expectations at all, who need improvement, and who are not meeting expectations at all. And then we have our students that are developing, our students who are proficient, and our students who are distinguished. And I think it's really important to note that we have nearly half of our students already at the distinguished level. This is a predictor for how the students will perform on the milestones. But again, it's September, and so this just gives us a guide to see how we can inform our instruction. So based on how students did, we make small groups and instruct accordingly. Okay, so if you go to the next slide, this is for just reading. And you can see where we're just ELA. So you can see where we are, just ELA. Again, grades 3 through 5. This is where we fall and amongst the district rankings. And then the next slide is just math. And that's where we're falling. So we had some really smart kids at Mary Lynn and some really good teachers, as you can see. So, it feels really good to have these scores, but there's also a lot of pressure to keep us like that. I think that might be the last slide I put on there, but I am, before we go to the discussion about that, if you would allow me to share, Katrina, and I will show you guys what my view of APS graphs is, and the things that we're able to do to manipulate it. These are the kinds of things that we do as a staff during our planning meetings, so that we have a really good idea about where each student is and what's happening. All right, let me see. Oh, I thought I had pulled it up. Hold on. I got to open it up first. Okay. There she goes. All right, let me share my screen. Okay, are you all able to see what I'm seeing? Okay, so you can manipulate over here, and this is my view. Everybody in the school does not have this, and parents do not necessarily have these views, but you can look at APS Insights, which will also give you some of this kind of data. So I'm going to just go to fourth grade. Our third graders last year really just outperformed everybody. I mean, they were incredible. So, and I'm going to go to reading. So I can break it down like this. Okay, so this is just what I was showing you before was kind of a high level view. This is just fourth grade reading. Now you see we have our work cut out for us, because you see how many students we have that are in this map right now that are showing that they are in the distinguished category, right? So whatever we do between here and May, we need to make sure that we are keeping these students engaged and really piquing their interest and getting them going, keeping them motivated. So that we can maintain this level of excellence. Okay, now I'm going to just go to fourth grade math and give you another example. Okay, let me see. I'm going to move my thing over a little bit. Okay, so you can see that this is fourth grade math, and this is again the MAP scores for this year. This is before. This is before most of teaching and learning has taken place. This is where our students performed for the new school year. Okay.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure. Yeah.
So this is this year's fourth graders, right? Like the ones who are in fourth grade fall 2022.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I have two curiosity questions about this, and I get sort of fascinated by numbers sometimes. How these compare looking at the same group of students, so last year's third graders and against last year's fourth graders. So like, whether it looks like it's the students or, the something that's happening at the school, or both. I'm sure it's both.
It's both. It's both. So what we're looking at is this year's fourth graders, and we have the ability to look at both. So that's apples to apples, how these fourth graders did when they were in third grade, and apples to oranges, how these fourth grade students did compared to the last fourth grade students. So when we are doing, what we do is we follow a progression line. And what's interesting to note is that when we begin to get growth scores, we'll be able to measure that. Last year was baseline data because it was the first time the students had taken the milestones in a couple of years. And so we were not able, that was not a part of the CCRPI, which is the measurement, the report card that we get from the state. We're not able to measure growth for this year, but this coming school year, we'll be able to measure the growth of our fourth graders and our fifth graders based on how they performed in third and fourth grade. Because you only get growth scores for milestones. Does that answer your question?
I have a quick question. So can you run, like you were saying, comparing the grades. So could we see the scores for like the current fourth graders, and then how they performed end of last year? I'm just kind of curious what the summer
but not on
for them.
Not on this site.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. not on this site. So this is only again, this is a map test.
Mhm.
And the scores that I gave you for what our CIP is based on are milestone scores, right?
But did we not take the map last spring?
They did take the map last spring, but so like, for example, let me just show you what I can show you. I can look, okay, so right now I'm looking at, this is the, I can't see a side by side, but I'm going to show you from fall, or I can show you from fall 2021.
Okay.
Oh wait, you know what? I can show. I'll show you from spring. But I need to. I'm not quite sure if this is going to give me. Yeah, it's these what I'm seeing right now are different students. So the spring 2021, 22, I think that those are my current fifth graders. This is how our fourth graders are outperforming where our fifth graders were at the, or our third graders were at the, I'm sorry, our fourth graders now are outperforming where our fourth graders were at the end of the year last year. If I can get the district to help me run some reports that show both views, apples to apples and apples to oranges, if you all are interested in seeing that, we can certainly do that. Let me see if I
That'd
can.
be helpful. It's just so curious. I mean, it's great, but you hear everything in the news about the map scores nationwide. I mean, the math scores nationwide have just dipped. So the fact that we didn't dip and we grew, like that's something to see on paper. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then to compare this group to how they were last year.
Yeah. So like
Camera.
right now, what I'm looking at right now, these are the, this is the fourth graders last year and their progression on map. And then this is this group coming in and they're already so advanced. However, we did adopt a new math program. It's called Bridges. We're the only school in the district that has it, which has both good and bad points. And so we will, we'll see how that worked for us. I'm going to change it to look at fifth grade, just in the same vein. So our fourth graders this year, I'm sorry, our fifth graders this year have already are doing better than last year's fifth graders. This is where we started last year with fifth grade. This is where we started this year with fifth grade. And this is all in math. Okay. So there's quite a bit of data that you can go through. I'm going to just show you just a quick different view also. I can show you, let me take off I'm just going to go to this school year. And I'm going to show our fifth graders, and I want to see them by ethnicity. Those are our main subgroups. Oh no, it's not going to give it to me in that view. Hold on one second. Okay, so this is where we were discussing how our students are doing compared to the district, and it's only gonna show Mary Lynn because that's all I have access to, and I'm gonna go to Just Math. So this is for grades 2 through 8. So we can see that our Asian American students are at proficient at 100%. However, if I hover, we can see how many actual tests that is. It's 13 students. Our African American students, and this is again proficient and above, it's 47 students, and this is in grades 2 through 5. These are our Hispanic students. There's 24. 2 or more races are 31, and then 316 white students. Now I'm going to change the view to developing and above, and then you'll be able to see, again, this is our pass rate. So we have some work to do in getting our students up to par in proficiency and above. This is developing and above. This is proficiency and above. Right? So when we talk about our CCRPI, we get points for students who pass. But at Mary Lynn, we really want to focus on students who are proficient. Okay.
And what is the black line that's there?
This black line right here?
Mhm. Is that the
I do-
district wide or?
No, I don't think so. I don't, it could be districts. I do, you know what, you could be right. I'm not actually sure, but it could very well be what the district is. But you can see we're really perform above the district average. Let me just go to reading. Again, this is our ethnicity, proficient and above. And then we'll go to developing and above. Now, what's really interesting is if I go to it by grade level, you can see that the other ethnicities disappeared because we don't have enough to make a subgroup in a grade level. It has to be 10 or more. So this is in grade 3, 13 tests for African American students and 80 for white students, and that is only that's for 3rd grade reading. I can go to, let me see, 4th grade, and that we probably don't have a subgroup except, yeah, same thing. So that's something that's interesting to note too, is that our subgroups change significantly when you do all grades because we don't have enough students to make a subgroup. Okay, so I will stop sharing now. Let me see. I think I'm going to stop sharing now. I've got so many things open. Okay, stop share. Okay. So the next slide, I think Katrina in the deck asks about just discussion and conversation. If you want to put that back up. Okay, so what you notice, what your wonderings are, or additional questions, and I know that some of you have already asked some, but if you have some more, that's what we're here for. This is just our guide to help us figure out what to do moving forward.
Ms. Briscoe, I was just wondering, are you discussing with other principals the gaps in achievement between races, and maybe are there other schools that have a smaller gap that are maybe demonstrating a path forward for you?
That's a really good question. Actually, no. yes, I do discuss with other principals very often. We discuss, strategies and what we're doing. We do not have schools that are outperforming us and closing the achievement gap right now, which is something that I'm proud of. So we've been kind of really intentional about learning about implicit biases that we may have. That's how we started the year. And we'll go back and revisit that. But our one thing that the district does have in place for us is they have something that's called ACEs, where the principals present their data and findings to a panel that includes the superintendent and our associate superintendent and the teaching and learning department. And then we kind of just like talk strategies then also, and we are able to hear each other's, and they generally group us by like-minded school. So at this time, there's not another school that is outperforming us in that area. But it's just really about meeting students where they are and giving each kid what they need, regardless of their ethnicity or their, if they are a student with a disability, et cetera. I think that that's really kind of where we land, is just focusing on personalized learning and how we can reach each kid where they are. Any other questions about this and what it looks like and what we're about to do with this data?
I have
I think,
Mhm.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I have a couple questions. They're not directly related to the data, but seeing the data reminded me of these things.
Mhm.
One was, I think that there was still an opening last time we talked for a special ed teacher, and I was wondering if that was filled and if there was any other positions that needed filling. And then I also, a totally different topic that I saw in there, the STEM lab is coming home. There's great reviews in our home for STEM lab. And I was just wondering from the teacher side or from the school perspective, how that's going over, because I know that was a big discussion. I guess we didn't really discuss, we all just decided it was STEAM, but I know the school had chosen that, and I was wondering how it's going over now.
Okay, so the first question is about, let me do the STEM one first. The STEM lab is indeed incredible. Stephanie Schumacher is a released teacher who has taken over that. And the reason why we created that is because we are seeking STEAM certification. There's a bit of a setback from the district perspective. We are no longer using Cognia, which is about a year-long certification process, but instead now we are being told that we need to get certified through the state. And so Stephanie is on that. She's doing a monthly report for what kinds of things that we are doing towards our STEM certification. The students love it. It keeps them engaged and it brings a lot of science to the forefront. We're still feeling our way, and so we want to make sure that we are also including the other letters in STEM besides just the science. And we do, we try to put our money where our mouth is. We wrote a grant for several teachers to go to a STEM conference that's coming up here in the next few weeks. And we're hoping that we're going to see some improvement, at least in terms of motivation and excitement in terms of the sciences. I will tell you that our fine art department is second to none in the district. Our students have an incredible experience through that whole department. And one thing that they're doing through our enrichment time is that they're also doing an integrated STEM through the art. So that includes PE. So I know, like last week, Dr. Waldman, who's on the phone, can tell, like they were making like DNA models out of different candy and stuff like that. I know that they were in orchestra or band, they were doing some sort of like geometry, like weaving and integrating Hispanic Heritage Month into it. Our people are creative. They're doing that a lot of different things, and so we'll see how what a difference that makes in terms of scores. The students only get scored in science and 5th grade. So last year we had the second highest scores in the district for science, and Stephanie was one of the teachers doing that. So I feel really confident in her ability. And can you repeat what the first part of your question was? It was about the scores.
No, I just, it was like a completely different question. I was just wondering if all positions have been filled.
Oh, the positions. Yeah, so no, that's the short answer. Short answer is no. I have had some challenges getting the district to approve a 0.5 position. I have a candidate that I've recommended who is a former teacher and who would be working with us as a 0.5. The difference between a 0.5 and an hourly is that if you're a 0.5, you're a half-time and you get to continue to pay into the teacher retirement system. And so it makes the job more attractive. And I do have somebody, she worked with us last year, all year, in remediation. And so that was really supportive and helpful. So I'm just waiting for approval now. In the district's defense, I've been out for the last 3 days out of town. And so I'll follow up on that in the morning. But in addition to that, I also hired, as you all, I think we talked about this, we hired a 5th grade
Oh, you froze on us.
in a different model.
Principal Briscoe, can you repeat that? You froze on us for a couple seconds.
Am I back? Okay. I shared that we hired a 5th grade teacher for gifted. In the past several years, we've been using a different kind of model where the students were served directly through their homeroom teachers who are all GATE certified. But now we do have a resource pull-out model again for that. And I think that is working really well. And I also hired an hourly teacher, and you guys may know this name, Melissa Tiarina, who was a teacher with us last year, who is now home, and she'll be coming in 2 hours a day to work with students that need additional support as well during the school day, so that we can make sure that our groups are small and that students are getting individualized and personalized attention. So I'm really happy about that. So I'm just waiting on the district to find out about my 0.5 special ed person. It should be any day now.
That sounds like we're in a pretty good place, Ms. Briscoe.
Yeah, I think that we're in a pretty good place. I'm super proud of what's going on with our teachers. Our coaches are excellent. They do meet. It's really a team effort. The coaches meet with the teachers to plan twice a week. Our MTSS, who's our student support team person, meets with the team. So like yesterday, for example, we reviewed all the tier 2 data for students which means that they are students who are being identified as needing a little additional support, either instructionally or behaviorally. So we really have structures in place to be able to address each student so nobody slips through the cracks. So I was sharing, and I think that's the end of this particular slideshow. So if you want to just get back on to conversation.
I do have a couple of questions just for towards the beginning. You were talking about writing scores and that they're lower than the reading, and you guys are going to be working on trying to get that up. I mean, usually are they even, or have you
No, we always
always?
are outperformed in reading than in writing. Students love to read. They don't generally love to write. I don't know if that's the case with your personal children, but it's, particularly as we move into like more computer-based writing. The writing expectations have changed significantly and the standards have changed significantly in the past several years. So there used to be the state writing assessment was about, like, can you produce a piece of writing that is coherent, that follows a structure, that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, that has a title, that, uses some particular conventions and functions, like, quotes and, or you have some dialogue in there. Now the writing is more like, I want you to read this passage and then come up with a whatever it is that you're writing and be able to quote your source. It's a very different and more technical skill, and it requires students to to read and and then apply what it is they're reading to their writing. And it's a lot different than what writing was to us. So that's just something that we're working on. The district has this year invested in a program that we've actually been using at Mary Lynn for about 6 or 7 years. Well, since I got there, really. It's called Write Score. And it is a third-party company that will take your students' writing samples and then provide feedback, and then also give lesson options for the teachers on what they need to reteach or strengthen, and on what their how students are performing, and in a more of an objective, from an objective lens. And so we're moving forward with doing that. And I think that that's helping. And we're also just trying to increase writing in the across the curriculum. So, like, in science or in math or in social studies, is there a journal that students are using? And a lot of it is also stamina. Are students able to write a complete essay and then edit what that whole process looks like? So you have to really invest the time. I think that is something that often goes by the wayside as you're trying to get through all the standards in a year. So
There are so many different programs. I mean, is there a way, I'm sure you get a lot of parents asking, like, detailed, okay, my kid's in, first grade, what are they actually, which program are they using? Like, is there some place where we can go where it's like first grade, these are all the different programs?
No. So as a school, we try to be cohesive, because we don't want a first grade using one thing and then third grade using something else and then fifth grade using something else, so that they're having to relearn all the time. We have trained many of our staff members in Lucy Calkins writing, which is a lot to learn, but when you do it and you do it right, it's successful. And so that's one thing that we're working on.
That's interesting. I'm wondering, Anne, do you have any comments on that one? No, I'm just kidding.
But Anne, are you not a fan?
No, it's just this whole reading wars thing. This is the Lucy Calkins versus Orton fight, but it's both can be done very well. And I feel like that's what is happening at Mary Lynn. They're doing Wilson Foundations along with it. And so,
yeah. Oh yeah. No, we don't use just one thing. We also train our teachers on the Complete Reading Series, which is an Orton-based program run by Brenda Fitzgerald. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but we host. So all of our teachers are trained in the Complete Reading Series, which is, which gives you a comprehensive and bird's eye view, global view. But what Brenda says is that no one program will do everything you need it to do. You got to spank the program. And that's what she says. You got to spank it to make it do what you want it to do. So, Foundations isn't perfect, Saxon wasn't perfect. F&P is not perfect, but we pick and choose from a variety of different resources and tools. And we're very fortunate that the Maryland Education Foundation supports us in that and really supplements our curriculum. But the bottom line is that no matter what curriculum you're using, the standards are what drives instruction. So, you know, we can't just say, oh, we do Lucy Calkins writing. It has to follow what the Georgia Standards of Excellence are. Okay, and then so in the on the agenda, if you want to go, that's the end of that slideshow, I believe.
Can I ask one question?
Mm-hmm.
I actually have more than one, but I'm going to limit it to one. So it looked to me like this data is showing, and it may be, I just don't remember because my kids are older, and it would make sense that MAP tests don't start until the second grade and don't really get going until the third grade.
No, students take MAP in all grades, but they
Okay.
only give us the district data like this for second through fifth. However, each team, we review the data and we use it to help group students.
Okay. I guess what I was wondering is whether there is any ability, given the focus and the intention, you know, to try to close achievement gaps between various demographics, you know, whether there's a way to use it, or if you could speak a little bit to what the school is doing to try to identify students, you know, who may need a little extra help in those earlier grades, so that by the time they get into second, third, fourth, and fifth grade, you know, maybe they are already at the proficient level or closer to it.
Yeah, so that is what I was sharing with you in terms of when our team meets. We review data that students take or from the beginning, and then we determine students who are if they're showing any signs of struggling, they can get referred to our student support specialist. And in that arena, there's a team of people that also includes the parents and the teachers and our team lead, who's Ms. Bellard, as well as her mentor and guider, who is Katie Zabrowski, who's actually on our Go team, and we work through strategies for those students. So it's what we say is at the first sign of struggle. It is not, you are not to wait until a student is failing. So that is ongoing. It's ongoing from the minute students walk in the door. In addition to that, including, you know, with behavior and behavioral anxieties and things like this, we're now using this screener that the district has purchased called the BASC-3. This is the second year we're doing that, and that just kind of also gives insight into how students are doing on an emotional level. Now, I wanted to just talk really quickly about the impact of the new K-5 on Maryland in terms of what the scores would be looking like and how that, you know, and what that will look like for us. So I did receive a list of the 146 students who are slated to move over to Springdale Park as their new elementary school from Inman Park. Of those, 47 are students of color. And so I may anticipate removing subgroups, being able to get subgroup data, what that will look like. There will also just be a lot fewer students, but there will also be fewer staff, and that's part of the impact on what that will be. So basically, we're just losing about a quarter or so of our population will be heading out, starting from next year. And so we'll have to see what that looks like. These 146 students that I have are K-5 students. We know the fifth graders wouldn't be returning anyway, so I don't know what the impact would be on the number of kindergarten students we would anticipate receiving. With a smaller school population, we will be eligible for transfers, likely, because right now we don't accept transfers because of our population. And so when we are able to accept transfers, you know, we might be pulling on some students who currently are in charters that may start coming to Maryland. And then there's also just a lot of unknown questions about the hiring process for how they will determine who will go to have the opportunity to be hired at the new school. I will tell you that the timeline for hiring is pretty aggressive. They did just name a new principal. And I want to say her last name is Schrock, but I can't remember her first name. Katie might be able to tell me.
Carrie.
Carrie?
Mhm.
Okay. And I know that like at 6 o'clock today, they were having a community meeting. And so once that happens, I know that she will begin hiring and looking into what that would look like, building her team. And so, you know, I'm certainly hoping that what we don't do is the last hired, first fired, because, you know, we do a great job of recruiting and finding lots of good talent, and some who are specialized. So I'll just be, you know, I'll make sure that I share with the community as it happens what's going on. But I know that they may do some volunteers first, and then there will be an interview process by which they'll determine which staff members will be able to work at the newly formed school. I have been in a situation several times in my 29 years in Atlanta Public Schools, and I've seen schools close and seen redistricting. And, you know, I can say with confidence that it's going to be okay. You know, change is difficult for everybody. Nobody wants to be the ones to have to move. We certainly don't want to be the ones to lose, you know, our beloved Inman Park residents. You know, we've been together a long time. So, you know, we're just kind of waiting and seeing how it unfolds, but I will be sure to keep everybody updated as we go.
Ms. Briscoe, I was wondering about other options for the school space besides maybe bringing in transfer students. I mean, personally, I would love to see some sort of pre-K situation at Mary Lynn. You know, that's just my personal preference. I don't know what would be best for the community, but I've heard like in the past there was maybe like a special ed sort of wing inside the school when the population was smaller. So I was wondering how involved are you in decision making for, you know, use of unused space, and like what's the timeline for making those decisions?
So I'm actually not involved in making those decisions, but I do make requests. So we did not have a special education wing. What we did have is
I didn't say it right, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I understand, because we keep all of our students together, dispersed amongst each other in an inclusive way. However,
I'm sorry I said that.
Yeah, no, don't be sorry. You just got here. You got a lot of schooling left. So yeah, what we did have in the past was regional units. And so there are some special education classes that are self-contained. So there's emotional behavior disorder units, there are autism units, there are moderate intellectual disabilities, and we call it MOID. There are units that are placed at different schools. And you're correct, it is based on population. So we had 2 autism units in the building, a K2 and a 3-5. And we had that for several years. And then when our population rose above 700, those units moved. So they could very well bring those units back. I'd love to have special education units in the building, especially when we have students that qualify to be in one of those units. They don't have to leave our school. We'll be able to serve them right here. Pre-K is a dream of mine. I can tell you, and being my across the street neighbor, there's nothing I love more than little ones. If I had a pre-K in there, you might not ever see me again, because I'll just be in the pre-K class with the babies because they're so sweet. So I have recommended a pre-K. I will follow up on that. When my 24-year-old son was in pre-K, we had a pre-K at Mary Lynn, and it was great to be able to to have both of the kids at the same school. So their pre-K is capped at 20 students in a class in a pre-K. Pre-K also it's not a part of your student success funding formula. So even if we opened 2 pre-K units, which would be 40 little ones, they would not count in our student count. We don't earn dollars for those students in the same way. But I agree. I'm hoping that we can open one, sooner than later. I know right now Hope Hill has 2 pre-K units. Toomer, I believe, has 2. And then Whiteford, Wella has pre-K, but there's not one, in the Midtown cluster besides Hope Hill, Spark, or Morningside. None of us have those. So we will be lobbying for that.
Okay, so I don't want to be inappropriate, but I would like to lobby for that. So maybe I can get some recommendations from you later on about how to do that.
Yeah, certainly. I don't know if it's if it's like a the community wants this, can we have it, or is it like this is the number of projected students in a particular area, and this is the number of these are the schools with space, and how that goes. But I will I'll get with you if you want to personally talk to the person in charge of that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, anything else as relates to MAP, the impact of the new K-5, or the continuous improvement plan?
Our strategic plan, I think last year it was said that, we can modify that at any time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we can.
So if anyone wants to look at it and look at the mission or anything like that, any wording or anything, we can always, through this process, modify it.
I think it
For
would
any
be
of
a
the new
great
people.
idea to put that on the next agenda.
Okay.
And then in terms of the principal's report, the only other thing I have besides those discussion items were just a big shout out and thank you to everybody who participated in our Booster-thon fundraiser that was sponsored and run by the PTA. It was very successful. The students clearly had an amazing time. I believe we met our goal. And we are now taking in, we did get a lot of feedback, and some of it was quite negative about the choice of fundraiser. So we're definitely taking all that information and sifting through it to determine what the next steps are for how we will operate next year in terms of fundraising for the PTA. But I know that day, the actual day of the fun run, could not have been a more joyful experience for both the staff and the students, including and up to the end of the day when several of us got into the dunk tank And there was just, squealing and laughter everywhere. It was it was a great day. Everybody was a good sport. So that's pretty much what's going on with me. Yeah, anybody have any other questions?
Doesn't sound like it. So we'll just move along. You've already done the principal's report. So any announcements? Anything from the APS office? Diane, do you know? No. Okay, moving right along. Public comment. Sarah, are you still with us? No. No. Okay. All right. If that's the case, then we've reached the end of the agenda. Any additional business at this time? No. Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn, Katie Zabrowski.
Do we have a second?
Motion to adjourn, Ashley Hanshaw.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. All right. So we are adjourning at 8:14.
Nice to see you. Thank you all for volunteering and being with us tonight.